You are listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 115. Growing a community on Instagram can be so frustrating at times. The goal is to spark intrigue, create connection and meaningful conversations with your community, and promote your offerings without giving off that sleazy sales vibe. So how do you do this? Well, let's find out right now. Hey there, I'm your host, Jessica Fergon, and I am passionate about doing the inner work needed to reach your goals. Let me be your guide as we navigate all the fears and insecurities that surface when it's time to step outside of your comfort zone. Along with my knowledgeable guests and industry experts, I'm here to teach you how to reawaken your life purpose and passion and create the steps to turn your intentions into action. Ultimately, my goal is to empower you to rise above those blocks holding you back and start living a life that you are worthy and deserving of. So come on, it's time to slow down, find a comfy spot with your favorite organic tea, and get inspired. Thank you for tuning in to the Love Unplugged podcast. Hello, loves. Today I am joined by Samantha Siemens, founder and CEO of 1010 Social, where she leverages her 10 years of administrative and marketing experience to small business owners to learn how to use social media to grow their business in an authentic way. As a social media marketer and Facebook ad strategist, Samantha teaches her clients how to go from overwhelmed to gaining leads on social media so that they can live an abundant life while still having a profitable, growing business. Now, this is something that we are all striving for. So I am just super excited to dive into this subject with you, Sam. I'm just so honored to have you as my guest, and I'm so excited to learn all about your story and advice. But before we start, for those that don't know you yet, I would love for you to share a little bit more about you personally.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Like she said, my name is Sam, and I am actually a California native living in Tennessee. We just moved here. I'm a wife, a mom of 4 beautiful kids, and CEO owner of 1010 Social.
4 kids and
yes.
a business owner. Wow. And you just had to move. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, making changes, making adventures, and just trying to really focus on choosing the life we love, right? So we moved, and I am so glad we did. It's amazing.
Yeah, you love it?
I love it.
And where exactly in Tennessee are you right now? Well, you don't have to give me your exact address.
Yeah, I'm 30 minutes outside of Nashville.
Ooh, I've always wanted to go to Nashville. It's on my list.
Please come visit.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know anyone, so yes, come visit.
Sounds good. Now, let's dive into your journey. So I want to go back into time a little bit, and I want to learn about what your experience was like leading up to becoming an entrepreneur and starting your business. And then how did you come up with the idea for this business?
Yeah, so I actually, prior to this, in high school, I thought I was going to grow up and be a famous magazine editor, and I was going to be the editor-in-chief of Cosmo or something. I love design. I love journalism. I realized shortly thereafter high school that I'm probably not going to do that. And so I stopped that dream, but I had done so much marketing and training and all of that, right? And I still loved it. And so then from then on, I worked in the healthcare system. So I've been in healthcare for over 10 years. And by the time I had my 4th child, my son, my baby, he had some health complications directly following birth where we had to get scans done and things like that. And I literally remember holding him while he's getting an EEG and I can't do this. I can't work 8, 10, 12 hours at the hospital and have this life that I want, be home with my babies. So it was literally, it's so clearly defined to me. But that moment where I was like, nope, I need to make a change. And I spent all night Googling, good old Google, and all night researching how to work from home. What does that look like? What can you even do? I had no idea. And mind you, I had been doing administrative things for a nonprofit called Young Life. I had been doing social media for my church and for Young Life, and had been doing those things for free volunteer work, for so long prior to that, where I stumbled on a virtual assisting course. I took the course and was like, yes, I can do this. And it just literally that's how it started. I just grew and scaled from there.
Wow. That's quite a change going from wanting to be the editor of like Cosmo or some magazine to now going into healthcare. So I kind of want to understand, how did that happen? How did you make that switch?
Yeah. So in high school, I was editor in chief of my newspaper, or for a certain department of my newspaper, I was editor in chief for my yearbook, and so that was like took trips and all of these things. And then I realized that honestly, I think it was at that point that journalism was sort of changing a little bit, and I realized I don't have thick enough skin. I'm not that tough of a person to do it, and then also like my grandpa, who I was very close with, had cancer, and so I watched him get taken care of and realized, oh no, I can do this. Like I'd be an excellent nurse. And so there's just this shift, and it honestly was because I was like, I'm not tough enough to be in journalism.
Here you are in social media,
Right?
where you need
Isn't
the
it
thickest
funny?
skin.
So funny. Which I think is why I teach and train on like just being yourself and showing up confident and those sort of things with social media, because just of like my experience in history.
That's hilarious. Now, creating your business, really, you didn't have any experience, launching an actual business, right? So, what did you
Nope.
struggle with in the beginning? Was it figuring out what steps to take? Was it, the imposter syndrome? Like, what exactly did you struggle with creating and growing your own business?
Yeah, it was probably a little bit of both. I had taken this course, right, to be a virtual assistant, and so I followed it. And then shortly thereafter, which I'll tell you in a minute, but I ended up switching right to what I do now. But in that, I was like, oh shoot, I need to do all the things for these business owners. And I realized that that wasn't something that I had capacity for, managing my own home, 4 kids, that whole thing. And then, oh wait, managing someone's business, doing all the things. Um, but then there was some imposter syndrome. Like, how do I scale a business if I'm like a virtual assistant? And just how do I do it like so and so? And that whole thing, there was some mindset issues for sure that happened right away. Like, can I even do this? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Can I juggle this and life? Um, and obviously I know now, yeah, we can, but then I was not sure.
You're not sure. I think we're not sure most of the time.
Right?
You just have to kind of jump in fearlessly to some degree, or blindly.
Yes, and
Yeah,
go for it. Yeah.
exactly. Just start. Don't think about it. The moment you start thinking about things, that's when you talk yourself out of it.
Yes. Yeah, because we play small. Like
Hmm.
even as women, we do that to ourselves. We play small. And really I wish I would have like played bigger ahead of time. Like I'm very content and like I get everything happens for a reason. But if I were to start it over, I would have gone go big or go home.
Totally. Now, you were a virtual assistant to begin with, and then it transitioned into this other business. So,
Yes.
how did that happen?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, I couldn't do all the things for all the people. It just wasn't where I was something I could scale, and it wasn't like my zone of genius. But then what I realized was like my experience, my volunteer work, I genuinely like love people. And so I fell into social media and I learned everything I could. I became really good at it just because of the authentic like connections. I liked building brands. I liked working with people who serve other people. And so I shifted and I niched down just to social media management. And then I added in the ads. I then did paid advertising for Instagram and Facebook. And so those, even now today, are the two things that I do and just focus on that. Like that's my zone of genius.
Awesome. Now, what key learnings did you have creating your business? Like getting it to that point and figuring out how to do those things, because now you're going to start managing it for other people.
Yeah, I had done, like I used some of my volunteer work that I'd done and sort of, I like analytics and insights. And so, as you know, like social media is ever changing. And so I picked a few key influencers, a few key like outlets to follow that I knew would give me like up to date trainings and information. And I put blinders on everything else, basically. I just like, I tested, I figured out what worked. I figured out that I love graphic design and writing and all of that, and then just focus on that. And then having those few, those very few mentors and media like outlet sources that I could learn from.
How did you choose which ones to follow? Like for me, I mean, leading up to this point, and I'm sure other people that are starting out as well, there's just so much overwhelm. I feel like I'm getting like 10 billion emails from all these different incredible people offering their services and their opinions and their like steps to doing this. And like there's so much on social media as well. It's just, it feels like you're bombarded. So like, how did you find which ones were the right fit for you to kind of just follow and then block out everything else?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And honestly, I wish I had like a magic formula, but it was totally trial and error. After following some of the people, decided like, no, maybe we don't like believe the same things. We don't market the same way. And I ended up choosing like women mostly, but some men as well. But like people that aligned with my values. For women, like I chose, how did you build your business? Because you have kids too, that whole thing. But then how are you marketing yourself and others? And I made sure they were like top of their game. Like for in the beginning, like I just wanted to follow the best of the best. And then obviously, like as my business grew, I then followed like people that were doing the same thing as me, but were better at certain things or, that way. But honestly, it's keeping blinders on because everyone, which I don't necessarily believe in competition. Like there's room for everyone, especially in the online space. And so everyone has an offer. I just tried to figure out what worked best for me, what looked like the goals that I wanted to hit,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And then like I legit, girl, I legit unsubscribed from so many emails because I was like that freebie seeker that would sign up and get their downloads and then maybe I would read it and then not. But I realized that that was just flooding my inbox too, like you said.
The freebie graveyard is insane. Like I have one on Dropbox. I had to move everything to Dropbox. So I'm like, this is just nuts. And the majority of them I don't even look at. So I'm like, now at
Same.
this point, I'm like very, very picky with who I choose to download stuff from because it's just a waste of my time otherwise, or a waste of the space on my computer.
Yeah, seriously, I love that you call it the freebie graveyard. Yeah, it's a thing. And so just realizing that and purging was huge and keeping blinders on
Mm-hmm.
was huge for me.
Yeah. I definitely, I mean, the freebie graveyard is one thing, and then the course graveyard. I think
Oh yeah.
one thing that I would go back and tell myself is like, be 110% sure that that is actually what you want and be really connected to why it's important to you because there's so many courses that I purchased that I
Yes.
never finished and they just kind of just sit there. And even like the bundle, how sometimes they have that bundle where there's like 100 courses and stuff like that.
Yep.
I used one.
Yes.
Like you want to, that's one thing that I would tell myself from back then is just be very picky with what you're letting into your bubble. And then make sure
Yes.
that whatever you do let in, you're actually like using it.
Yes, I 100% agree. And there's two things. One of which is one of my mentors and friends, Rick Mulready. He said something to me in the very early on in my business that has just always stuck with me. And it's that you only need to know a little bit more, like that much more than your ideal client. You don't have to be the expert, the world's greatest anything. You just have to know that much more than the person who you are going to do the things for or teach the things, right? And so
Exactly.
for me, I was like, yes, I don't have to be an expert. But the reason I bought so many courses or freebies or all of that is because I had this lack of confidence. Like I didn't get my master's degree in marketing. And so maybe I'm not fit for this where, well, it turns out that wasn't the case. And I just really needed to have the confidence to sell myself, but then the confidence, to not feel like another course or master class, like whatever was going to fill this for me?
Exactly. And if you have too much, it totally distracts you as well from what you're wanting or needing to focus on in your business. Like I feel it's just another
Yeah.
distraction for you because there's only so much you can
And
fit in your brain.
for sure. And then if you like have so many offerings, your ideal client's like, well, I don't even know what to from her. I know that she's this, but like, what do I do if I hurt you? Like, where now it's very clear. You have a whole 3 ways to work with me. Like, so it just makes it easier for me and them.
Exactly. Well, I love that. It's just something I've been thinking about lately because I've been getting a lot of emails since 2021, and I was just like, oh boy, I
Oh
can't be the
yeah.
only one feeling this. What other
Yes.
key learnings have you had besides that?
Some like the mindset we had talked about,
Hmm.
becoming even now, becoming what is that saying? It's like each level is a new devil kind of thing. And so I mistakenly thought like, oh, I had mastered these mindset issues, like some confidence in the beginning and niching down and things like that. And then I scaled and then new things happened. And so I'm learning that this business is constantly growing and stretching me, not only as a business owner, but as a person. And that's one thing in business I never really expected, but I'm super grateful for. And so becoming confident to share these results that I'm getting for my clients and showing people what is possible, even if it's messy action or messy launches, like just showing what is possible. And then also continuing to be super grounded on social media and like showing up authentically, no makeup, messy hair. That might be my story today, but just continuing to show up, even if it feels hard, because I love making connections in business with clients, but then also with peers and stuff as well. And so there's a lot we can learn from each other by just showing up and sometimes being vulnerable.
Hmm. I always find that the people that I follow that do show up, looking like they had just woken up on the wrong side of the bed, it makes me feel like it's okay, because
Mm-hmm.
I probably woke up on the wrong side of the bed as well. And we all have those days, and you connect more on a personal level with those people. And, those are the people that I'm going to want to buy from, right?
Yeah.
Like people buy from people, right? There's a connection there.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I was so thankful when Instagram, and they're still making changes, but when they originally made that big change that sort of shook everyone, but going from like the perfect feed and the amount of times you posted to, hey, we care more about your interactions and your comments and your messages and not so much like your followers and things like that, because I feel like that sort of made a shift as well for people to like, oh, I don't have to have a curate, and you can, like, not knocking it, but like I can just show up as myself, or I can just say, you know what, I'm going through a hard time right now. This is what I'm learning, kind of thing.
Hmm.
I feel like it's making and building more connections with us all.
Yeah, so true. So let's get into your advice, everything that you know and are about to share. So, how did you scale your business and create authentic connections with your community?
So good. I scaled honestly by niching down. And it could look however you want it to look, where you work with a certain person, a certain ideal client, you only serve certain audiences, right? Or it could look like I only provide these services. That helped me scale a ton for two reasons. One is I was only offering these things. I am known as a social media and ads. That's it. There's not like a Rolodex of services. And then also, I could then automate some things in my business because I am only doing, not only because it's a lot, but like I am doing these two services. Like ClickUp is my best friend. I'm automating things left and right so that it becomes easier on me. Um, that would definitely be my biggest tip is if you can niche down, if you, as much as you feel comfortable with and are confident with, and then you can automate portions of your business to do it for you. Like as a business owner, there's no reason, which I'm still learning, that you have to spend 5 million hours a week in Dubsado or, checking the email a million times a day. Like things can be automated to work for you so you could really do what you love. Another piece of advice is find out what you love, what you're good at, what you love, what you're passionate about, whether that's serving a certain group of people or providing a certain service. When we are in our zone of genius, then I feel like we create better, we serve better, we make a bigger impact because we actually love and care what we're doing, as opposed to just doing all the things or serving all the people.
100%. What would be your advice on how we can create more meaningful engagement with our community? Like sometimes it's kind of hard getting a conversation going in a caption or in a story and all that stuff. So how would you address that?
I would say that engagement is one of my favorite things, but and engagement, I just translate that and say instead of engagement, because that's such like a marketing term, I
Mm-hmm.
say I'm going to create conversations, and that could look several different ways. It could be with my own followers, right, and just checking in on them. It could be watching their stories and responding to that. It could be finding new people in the hashtags, like using a certain hashtag my ideal client would use, and creating conversations with those people as well. Oftentimes I see clients and peers, they're like, I posted today. Well, they either post and ghost, which means you posted and then you bounce, which is not a social media thing, right? And then, or you're like, I posted today, but nobody's talking, or I hear crickets. And my question always is to you is, are you, how are you doing? Like, how are you interacting with them? How are you creating conversations with your people? It is a social media network, social being the key thing, which means you have to like actually talk to people as if it, we're like real life, really, to make it easy. But we have to create conversations if we want conversations.
I love that because a lot of the times we focus on, just creating conversations on our feed, right? But it's
Yeah.
also about going on to other people's feeds and starting conversations there.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be like Einstein of conversations. If a girlfriend posts about anything, like her new outfit, then I love it. Then, hey girl, that outfit is so cute. Where did you get it? Or, it could be just encouragement. It could be compliments. It could be something, if you see something that you resonate with, you can say like, hey, me too. I've gone through this. Like, keep going. It doesn't have to be salesy. It doesn't have to be complicated.
It's a relationship. Like you got to think about it like it's a relationship with your friend, right? Like they're not always coming to you to talk. You have to give back as well. It's 50-50.
Totally. And like in the real life scenario, I would never walk up to you and be like, hey, do you want to buy my course? Like, no, I wouldn't even be like, hey, what's your name? What's your business? Now, do you want to buy my course? Like, we would talk, we would have a relationship. I would provide value. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe if you needed my course, then later we would talk about it. But like, it doesn't have to be spammy or crazy or difficult.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Now, you just brought this up, the launching or promoting your course part. How much do you give before you ask?
Yeah. Do you mean like give value wise
Yeah.
or?
Like
Yeah.
how much value do you give for free versus how much time do you spend promoting your products or services?
I feel like for 90% of us, we have a problem not promoting us. Yes, there is that percentage of us that are like hardcore selling every day. And so for those people, I would say pause, show up, build the know, like, trust, create content and value that your people need, give free. But then I feel like for most of us, we fall in the like, we don't pitch ourselves enough. We don't sell ourselves enough. It's easier to provide value and show up in that way than it is to sell for some reason. So I would encourage those people to, yeah, sell your stuff. No one's going to buy from you if they don't know what to buy from you. So stories is like the most comfortable for me. I'll show up, say, hey, this is what I have going on this month. This is who I can serve, and bam. But as far as like how much to provide, I am not the best person probably to answer that because I feel like, that you can always show up and serve and make an impact and provide value. And those people not only you'll be like the go-to person, right, for this information, but then you'll also, people will already like and know and trust you. They'll know that you know your stuff. So when you do launch, it's usually easier to buy from you. But I don't think there's like a max. I
Mm.
would say you just have to remember to actually sell.
Yes, that's the hard part, right?
It's so hard.
I struggle with the promoting myself so much just because I just always just want to give for free. That's just the way that I've always done it. I mean, not done it, but the way that I've always been, and promoting myself just, it gets so awkward in my head. And I'm
Yeah,
doing this right now, and it's just such a learning process to like start talking about it more frequently.
totally. And honestly, it's such a, like, you're not alone for sure. And so I had to switch my mindset from that and say, like, if I don't show up to serve, if I don't sell my whatever it is, then I'm not helping my clients. Like I'm
Mhm.
not helping my future clients. And if I don't know, for me, it made it easier. Like if I switch it from like, oh, sleazy salesy, because that's totally like this mindset block we have. And
Mhm.
if we switch that to be like, okay, I have to show up to sell because Georgia Sue needs to buy my course so she can create a podcast, or so and so needs to feed her family, so she needs to create a business, or like whatever your ideal client, whatever their pain point is. If they don't have you, then what's the gap? Like what's the overlay? They're gonna miss out because you're not selling to them. So I don't know. For some reason, if I put it in like the serve mentality, it makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I try to always just think about it like if I'm not offering this, they're gonna waste time and money and get
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed. Like they need this to help them make it so much easier and more fun. You know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
think about it differently, and then yeah, just do it. Just
Yes, just do it. And you can also like share other people's experiences, right? That feels easier. Um, Client testimonies. What transformation have you helped other people get that you can share, and that feels, less salesy.
100%. Now, is creating relationships in your community the most important part of growing your business? Or are there other elements that you can be adding in there that are just as important?
Yeah, I would say that it is all, there are different pieces that all need to be put together. For example, like we were just talking about, it doesn't work to just sell all the time without relationship building, without connecting, right? And then on the other hand, it doesn't work to just provide value without selling, or just relationship build and not give them anything to buy from you. So it all goes hand in hand. It's providing value, showing up as the expert that you are, building community, which I love to do whether I'm selling or not anyway. So that part's just fun. But relationship building, providing value, building the know, like, trust factor, which means you have to show up, and it doesn't have to be in big fancy ways. It could be like in stories and things like that. But then selling, I feel like it's all one big platter, and you need a little bit of all of it to actually make the social media magic happen.
Gotcha. Now, what tips do you have on how we can use social media to connect with our communities? So, all the different ways that we can use it.
Yeah, you can use it forever. I love social media. It's ridiculous. So you can use it for everything. You can use it like social media for paid advertising side. The paid side, you can use it to build an email list, to help sell a launch, a course, a membership, a high course offering, anything, right? And then the organic side, social media is very important, especially now with some of the changes that are happening. It is important to reach out and connect and build the community. And like I said, there's simple ways to do that. It could be literally setting timers, because it can be time consuming, but creating those conversations, going through your followers and clicking on their stories, their feeds, whatever. Going in hashtags with your ideal client, creating conversations that way. It could be ending up in people's DMs in an authentic way, just to get to know them a little bit more. Find out like where are there even pain points in their business, or what does their life look like, things like that. Um, and then just making sure that you can provide value on your own feed. And value doesn't always mean like 3 tips to X, Y, and Z. It could also be like, here's my vulnerable point. I was this person, now I'm this person because of X, Y, and Z, right? So it doesn't always have to be you teaching. It could be your life. It could be behind the scenes. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, just showing up behind the scenes and in a real life way makes it easier for people to connect with you. I have people connecting with me, no joke, over pumpkin cream cold brew because I love it. And when it's in season, it might be on my stories probably too much. And so there's just these little things, or like moms with lots of kids looking at, or like anything, And so those help to build connections too, when you're real, you're authentic, and you're showing actual life happening.
Is there a difference between what you should be sharing on your feed versus stories?
Yeah. So feed lasts forever, right? It's there. So those are the things that we want to be a little more impactful, um, and that maybe it's an IGTV, it's a Reels. Reels are incredible for reach right now. Or it's an infographic saying, just providing educational value. It's also providing vulnerability. If I said that right? Vulnerability, and showing up for the feed nowadays. You don't even have to post 7 days a week, which is all. You could post 3 days a week and just make them power packed punches. But in stories, I encourage people to show up daily, 3 to 5 times. Even if you could like spread that out throughout the day. In a perfect world, you could do more. But stories is where people really get to see you. They get to see your face, hear you, hear your life. You can go behind the scenes, provide values in that way. You can also elaborate on something that you're talking about in the feed, in your stories. But stories is really big for connection in that way.
Gotcha. Now with Reels, this is a newer thing that has started ever since TikTok, I think, got banned in the US or something like that.
Yes.
I still don't have Reels on my phone. I have it on my personal account, but not my business. So I don't really know too much about Reels. I see them here and there in the feed, but what exactly should they be used for?
Yeah, I'm so sorry you don't have it.
I
It's
know.
coming to you. I know. So reels they're 30 seconds or less. They are video clips with audio, or most businesses don't have audio because of the whole like infringement stuff, copyright. But they are a perfect opportunity for you to gain reach. And what I mean by reach is that they show up in different places on Instagram so that people can watch them more. Also, people like to scroll and just watch these short little videos. So they're seeing you. So knowing that we want our reels to be something where people get to know us, also like bits and bite-sized pieces of information. So we're providing value. And that way they can then, like, obviously we want them to eventually click on our profile and actually become like a follower. But so think of it in the way for these are new people who have no idea who you are. And so 30-second little bites of information and pieces and selling and things like that, that would let someone get to know you so that they can click and follow you. You're reaching more people.
Gotcha. Okay. I like that. I will
Yeah.
keep
And it
that in
doesn't
mind.
have, yes, as soon as it comes to you. And I would encourage everyone listening, it does not have to be like, you don't have to be a cute little 20-year-old dancing, learning a new TikTok dance. That does not have to be what it is, especially on Instagram. You don't have to sing. You don't have to point to the words. It could be a 30-second clip of you talking. It could be you adding captions, things like that. It could even be a graphic you make in Canva with your photo if you're not comfortable with that yet. Like there's a ton of different ways to do it. So don't be scared of it.
Just experiment and try different
And
things, see
have
what works.
fun.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's videos, right? Have fun with
Yeah.
it.
Have fun. And if you don't love it later, then delete it. Like it's fine.
Exactly. It's not lives, right?
No, yes. Yes. The delete button is your friend. So is the unsubscribe and the unfriend.
All right. So since you are, social media queen, I want to know, do you know anything about this new thing coming out, Clubhouse?
Yes, I am on Clubhouse.
Oh,
It is so good. Okay, so full transparency. It is a time sucker. It is something, so it's this audio platform, right? And it is very exclusive. Which just messaged me. I'll give you an invite so you can play with it too. But it is, which is how Pinterest, if you remember back in the day, Pinterest was like this way too. You had to have an invite only. But for this, it's audio platforms. And the cool thing about it is because it's so new, it connects to your Instagram and your Twitter, but it connects to your Instagram so people can automatically like click there and follow you there and build relationships there. There's not a messaging feature on Clubhouse or really text at all. And so that all happens on Instagram. So it directly like correlates with like building your brands. Like that could be a great thing. And then also you get the opportunity to be in these rooms with not only like bajillionaires, but these experts, even these famous people. So like I've been in rooms with like Amy Porterfield where she's speaking and you get a chance to ask her questions or hop on stage is what they call it. It's like the platform. With like the dude from the Shark Tank, like all of these people that you wouldn't normally connect with in that way. Right now you have the opportunity to connect with them. you also have the opportunity to show up and host rooms as an expert and show up, provide value. People can ask questions. Or some people, like these aren't my favorite rooms, but some people do just go in there and they just like talk the whole time. Not my favorite, but you could do that as well. Um, but it's audio only, which for us moms, women, it means we don't have to like put on a face really. So it's kind of cool. Like I said, it can be a total time sucker, but it's really cool.
It's like a different type of like a podcast. It's more interactive in a way because you
It's
actually
definitely,
ask, right?
yeah, it's an interactive podcast basically.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
I'm
It's
definitely going to have to
yeah.
get on that.
Yes. Just message me. But yeah, it's and you would like yeah, you would definitely have space there and to create rooms, and we could even do a room there together. And that's cool too, is you can collaborate and like co-host rooms and things. So you're
That's
attracting
awesome.
different audiences. It's fun.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. I love that. Now I want to get a little bit more personal with you. So you're
Yes.
raising 4 children. I can't even
Yep.
with that. And you're running a business with so much, going on, juggling all the different responsibilities that you have, running a home, the responsibilities with your children. And with COVID, I'm sure that you're dealing with some schooling stuff as well. And then you have work. How do you stay on top of it all? How do you structure your time and your days? How do you prioritize your work responsibilities and focus on like what's actually going to move your business forward? And then like, how do you take time for yourself?
Yes. So the last one is probably what I'm the worst at. But yeah, so it looks one of the reasons I chose social media and ads is because I can do them whenever I want. I'm not on call. I'm not 9 to 5. I mean, like I'm available like in my email in that way, but I can create ads at, 6 in the morning at 2 a.m. at night. Like it doesn't matter. And so that part is one of the reasons I did choose it. But also I prioritize in the way for me now, like my older kids will hopefully be going to school here. And that, okay, so I'm going to work either before they wake up or I'm going to work while they're in school. Or I've hired babies. Like there's no shame in my game. I've hired babysitters like twice a week to help me so I can do a majority of the actual like thinking and content creation and my creativeness in those days. And then still just check in like the other days. Another great thing I did this year was because my business thrives when people are in their zone of genius, which means I also need to be in my zone of genius. And that meant, well, I'm going to be honest. The first like paycheck I got as a virtual assistant back in the day, I hired a housekeeper because I was like, yes, free shoes, let's clean my house. But it's outsourcing whatever you can. Like, of course, depending on your budget and your scaling and things like that. But even the little things, like I now have like a mini team who's incredible and they help me so much so that I can continue to like meet new people and sell and do strategy. But I would say one of the big changes for me was automating my business and then outsourcing where I could, whether that was business with like someone checking my emails, a virtual assistant, or life hiring someone once even to clean my house or a babysitter to help me for a few hours or, whatever that looks like. And then prioritizing wise, I don't believe that there's like a perfect balance, right? Where like everything's in harmonious. Like my life is 100% and my work is 100%. For me, it looks like some days if I am a launch or a deadline or something where work might take a little bit more of my time than hanging out would be. Or, it's more of like, how many plates can I fit on this? But it's more like what I prioritize my life in what is more urgent. My family always takes precedence, but they also know that I run a business and I work. And so that's just their reality. And so making priorities among clients helps me. Like also batch working. I can't even believe I didn't say this. Batch scheduling is one of my saving graces.
Yeah, 100%. Batch working makes everything so much better.
Yes, and it's a game changer for sure.
Do you have any morning or evening rituals or routines that kind of help you get out of that work zone and just to take care of yourself a little bit more?
Honestly, Jess, I totally need to grow in this area. And it's like one of my things for 2021. I think last year threw all of us a little off. And so one of the things that was the first to drop was like self-care. And so that is one thing that I definitely need to prioritize. And like you said, even if it's just making space in that, honestly, right now, it's probably not the best habit. Like when I'm done with work, like if I work in the evening, I'll play Tetris on my phone because it just makes me not think about anything else and I could just play it. Probably not the best habit, but I mean, I'm not doing it like all night long, but it's just, I need more things like that.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah.
It's something that we all struggle with, right? Like taking that time for ourselves, no matter what we're doing in our lives, it's usually the first thing to go when we're busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that? Darn it.
I know, right? But I think as women, we tend to put other people's needs and other things above our own. It's like a thing that we do. Mhm.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I struggled with that myself, so I definitely know what it's like.
And what did you do? What things do you do?
Well, I had quite a bit of a burnout quite a few years ago, working,
Mm.
two jobs, putting my family's needs above mine. And, I don't regret it because that's exactly what was needed at the time. But it definitely took its toll on my health and, my mental health as well and whatnot. And at that point, I decided to just do something for me. And that's when I started this blog. And it
Oh,
was
I love
just
it.
that little spark that kind of gave me hope, gave me a little bit of light in my life at that point, that brought joy back into my life. It gave me something to look forward to have fun doing it. And then that kind of was the catalyst for everything else that I started to implement. And then the next thing was learning to say no and then putting in
Mm.
boundaries in place. And that was probably the hardest one for me because I was always just a yes person. I wanted to please a lot of people. I wanted to be kind of a good girl and, to make everybody happy. And, saying no was something that I had to learn how to do. And it was really hard at first, overcoming the guilt that you can feel from that. But then it got to a point where I was just like, throwing no's everywhere. And I was just becoming known as the person that would just say no. And I'm super proud of it. I have no problem saying no now.
I love that so much. I feel like we might be twins, except for I need to say no better. But like you just described me.
It's a muscle you have to exercise, right? Like it
Yeah.
takes time and eventually you will get to the place where you're like, if it's not something I'm super excited about and I don't feel like super great about, I'm saying no. And that's okay.
That's so good. Yeah, I definitely learned to do that in my business and that if I go through discovery calls and I'm like, no, I don't think we're the best fit, like I'll refer them. Or even I used to try and this is so bad and my coach would totally be like, Sam, but I used to like downplay my services or try and cheapen oh, you can only afford X amount of money. I'll do this for you. And I had to
Mhm.
really set boundaries around that and say no to that because then I'm not yeah, serving myself well.
Mhm.
But I need to also apply that to my personal life. Duh. That's so good.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so I want to talk about your offerings. What do you have
Yes.
available? What is going on in your business?
So many good things. Yeah. So like I said, I'm a Facebook and ad strategist. So if you basically have a proven offer, a course, a launch, any of that, a podcast, any of that happening, then that's been proven, then I love scaling your offers with paid traffic. And so that is one side of my business basically. And the other side is I have for my small business and solo entrepreneurs or multi-level marketing or people that don't want to outsource their social media completely yet. I have an amazing course, but it's called the Simple Social System. And it basically teaches you how, like I talked, batch work is, godsend. And so it teaches you how to create content for your social media platform in only about 2 hours a month. And you're still showing up, you're still providing value. It teaches you stories, it teaches you everything you need to know basically in the simplest form because I don't believe in fluff. So that was my baby actually during the past year. I created that and it's been amazing and the community is awesome. And then my sort of signature offer is what I call the content maximizer. And it's basically for these high figure earning entrepreneurs who are amazing at one stream of social media. So whether it's a podcast, a blog, a social media private coaching group, coaching calls, where you pour out all of your energy into that and you're amazing. And then the rest of your social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagram might not match the authority that you are. And so I become the content maximizer and I'm your coach. I'm your strategist. We create strategy. We don't do plug and play content. And I am done for you services. We create the content for you. And I tell you basically when to show up. And so that is really for those type of entrepreneurs as well. So that's, ads, my simple social system, and the content maximizer that's my business.
That's amazing. I love that. I know so many people would benefit from that. Social media is a full-time thing, right? Like creating all the stuff and it takes a lot of time.
It is. And I really tried to hit something for each person. Like the ads, obviously you have to be ready to scale your business using ads. And then the course is for people who don't want to hire me basically to do it for them. Right. And so here's everything I know that would benefit you. And then the content maximizer is just so many times you see those, even these really cool, I don't want to say famous, but well-known entrepreneurs, and you're like, yes, on their Facebook or something, and you see their Instagram, and you're like, wait, you haven't shown up since 2018 or whatever. So there's that for them as well.
Awesome. All right. So if anybody wants to learn more about you, where can they connect with you? Where do you hang out?
Yes, I hang out everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. I hang out the most probably Instagram. My handle on everything though is Ten10 Social. It's TEN10 Social. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Clubhouse, holler at your girl. All of those is Ten10 Social. And I would love to just even say hi to you and connect and
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for taking the time to join me today, for sharing your journey, your incredible advice on how we can scale our social media and then create true connections with our communities.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.